If you're confused as to how the staggeringly formulaic Call of Duty remains the best-selling first-person shooter in a post-Doom Eternal world, Warhammer 40,000 Boltgun is here for you. It's hard to fault just how enthusiastically the developers, Aurok Digital, tried to capture the spirit of the Warhammer 40,000 universe. There are hyper-masculine space marines stomping around in blessed power armor. Ancient weapons are treated with more reverence in the lives of those that wield them. Certifiable psychopaths on all sides believe in ideological absolutes and the fanatical reverence for their gods. And, of course, there's lots and lots of violent murder. I was legitimately surprised to discover that Boltgun functions as a sequel of sorts for the excellent but oft-forgotten Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine. Staying consistent with its retro inspirations, there are only a handful of lightly animated cutscenes spread between the 3 episodes, but they get the job done with reasonable style. An Ultramarine squad has been seconded by the Ordo Malleus and sent to Graia, where the Inquisition believes the Mechanicus may have been experimenting on a residual fragment of a demonic power source. Parts of the Forge world have gone dark, and now it's up to you to investigate. To its credit, Boltgun doesn't really need a strong narrative thread to keep you entertained, and you could argue it's staying true to the source material. The primary function of your Stone Guard veteran is to mercilessly purge heretics, send traitor marines and demons back to the warp screaming, and along the way you'll attempt to kill a powerful Chaos Sorcerer several times over. I guess there is a servo skull that accompanies you and blurts out a few story details mid-mission, but the tiny block of text is nigh on impossible to follow, especially if there's action on screen. Now, despite the aesthetics harking back to first-person shooters from the early to mid-1990s, Boltgun is closer in design to those early true 3D FPS of the late 90s. Titles like Quake or Unreal. If you want to survive difficulty spikes during massive multi-level arena battles, platforming sequences with lethal chasms, and if you want to discover all the secret power-ups tucked away in corners, you'll need to stay on the move, but still leap about with reasonable precision. Your lumbering Space Marine sounds like they weigh several tons when plodding about at a jog, but they can sprint, charge, and jump vast distances with ease. The iconic chainsword even doubles up as a short-range grappling hook, allowing you to quickly dash forward to foes from any position, even while free-falling, and finish them off with a button-mashing shower of gore. Later stages and several boss arenas offer up exhilarating traversal, combined with tense firefights, though I was grateful for the quick save, quick load feature, as the gamepad controls never feel quite as precise as mouse and keyboard. Befitting the title, the iconic Boltgun is the first weapon you unlock, and remains both useful and satisfying throughout. There is a strength level assigned to weapons and enemies that encourages you to switch things up, but the Boltgun is a solid all-rounder, has abundant ammo, is devastatingly accurate at all ranges, and benefits the most from ammunition power-ups like Kraken or Vengeance drum magazines. As a result, fleshy human heretics and lesser demons will die by the thousands to explosive bolter rounds before the credits roll, and it was only the rare moments when I was out of ammunition that I would come to appreciate the shotgun with its ricocheting pellets, a melter-gun that incinerates everything in a cone while ignoring cover, and the joy of flinging abundant grenades into crowds. When faced with greater demons, traitor marines, and bosses, the plasma gun with its slow-moving projectiles and splash damage proved useful for larger targets, while the Volkite caliber and grav cannon, both beam-type weapons, are best saved to quickly finish off a tougher target when health and content run low. Oh, and as a bonus, you can mash a button at any point to praise the Emperor of Mankind, or threaten your foes with a painful death and eternal damnation. Now, while it's easy to appreciate the smart designs and artistry that goes into a self-limiting retro style, Boltgun also impresses when it comes to brand authenticity. If, like me, you're familiar with the IP through video games, do yourself a favor and go look at some of the licensed tabletop figurines and battleground props for comparison. The intricate character and weapon sprites draw on the stocky, almost cartoonish tabletop models for inspiration, and it was easy to recognize many popular figures, from lowly heretics differentiated by their weapons, to the different traitor marines and Terminator armor, and the lesser and greater demons of Nurgle and Tzeentch. Even the environments, probably the weakest part of the presentation, are still improbably huge, even for a Space Marine, and it feels like the Imperium of Man is desperately overcompensating. On the audio front, thumping bolt rounds turn lesser foes into puffs of pixelated chunks. The chainsaw rips and tears with a furious roar. Energy weapons crackle and discharge. Gore splatters wetly on the walls. Spent shell casings go tinkling to the floor, and the brooding soundtrack frequently transitions into rock-inspired tracks or gothic chants during the larger arena battles. It looks and it sounds great, but as much as I love the aesthetics, Boltgun can get visually noisy during larger battles, making it difficult to keep track of your position, something that's potentially lethal where platforms are involved, or your priority targets during purge events. On multiple occasions I found myself running laps around an arena just to spread out the mobs, reduce the intensity of incoming fire, before finally re-engaging. Now wrapping up, my only major issue with Warhammer 40,000 Boltgun is that it errs on the side of being too long. An odd statement by modern standards when you can clear it within 10 hours on a casual playthrough, but the early stages of each episode can drag. They're often intensely linear and serve to highlight repeated geometry and assets, and the limited enemy roster as you move from one purge event to another for up to 20 minutes at a time, all without any mini-boss or boss battle to break it up. It's a shame as, on the whole, Boltgun actually has a decent mix of man-made and natural environments, all of which are increasingly tainted by the presence of the war. But while I would have traded campaign length for slightly better pacing, the bulk of the experience was great. Regardless of whether you're a fan of modern arena FPS like the Doom reboots, retro-inspired FPS like Dusk or Medieval, or the actual classics like Quake, Boltgun offers up a nigh-on perfect combination of liberating movement, punchy weapons that feel great to use, fleshy targets that feel great to destroy, and an over-the-top gore-splattered audiovisual experience that makes wreaking havoc look and sound as good as it feels.